record on this computer. All right, so we are recording now. Also, I have everything pulled up on here so I can talk or I can read um, what it is that we're supposed to talk about and everything. Okay.
Oh, okay, you can do that. Yeah,
Oh,
let's do that.
sorry. Did you want to say something or do something first?
No. Just start
Okay.
it.
Okay. So
Oh,
in that case, then. Oh
it's
yeah. Go
better
ahead.
I mentioned that Jack have a conference and cannot attend, and she said she will send her note about those questions.
Yeah.
And so Jonathan uh, just got a new baby, and
Yeah. That'd be hard to do anything. Yeah.
so it's better to tell our instructor about it. Yeah.
I agree with that. In that case, then on here it says, now have a recorded discussion with your group. Talk about the following. What does it mean to be Black in these poems? And the short story. What is, actually, we'll talk about that one first then. So, do you want to go first about, what it uh, seems like in these poems to be Black in those poems and in that short story?
What does it mean? I mean, those uh, those poems are written by the same person, and I think the first poem, what was the name? Harlem.
Harlem?
Yeah, Harlem was very short, and first it was really hard to understand, but uh, the dream is about the Black people want to live. Same as white people, they want to have uh, equity, is it right? Have equal life as white people, and so it's about how their dream, postponed, or the poem starts. Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? It's their dream, and the next stanza says that, or fester like a sore. Uh, they have this dream, and it because of this dream, it hurts like a sore on their body. They want it so badly, but they don't have this freedom, and they don't treat uh, like a normal people because of their race. So, and does it stink like a rotten meat? It's like people treat them like this, like a stink. Like a rotten meat, and people think that, I don't know. I heard a lot of things about racism, and I have read things, but I haven't watched any movies about it. But when I read the stories, it's just it was like a movie, and oh my goodness, it's terrible way white people treat them.
I agree. Yeah, I was gonna say, especially, back in that day, in that time, that was terrible how people treated other people just in general too. I actually read that in a little bit of a different way. Instead of seeing that that's how people were treated, I read that as the first line, of course. Sorry, forgive me. What happens to a dream deferred, and then all those other things about what possibly happens to a dream when it gets deferred, when it gets postponed, like what happens when you don't get to live life the way you want to live it. um I see those as possible reactions to different things, like does it dry up? Basically, do you forget about it like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it like really ache you? Does it make you feel bad? Does it make you feel like with like a sore, how it always hurts and everything? Is that hurt internal when you're not able to follow your dream, when you're not able to live life the way you want to live it? Does it stink like rotten meat? Basically, it's just like, are you miserable? Or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet. Now that I actually read in like two different ways on there. Does it crust and sugar over? Like, is it basically dead and gone, or like a syrupy sweet? Like syrup never goes bad. I love that about syrup, and it's my favorite thing. But the interesting thing about does it crust over like syrupy sweet? What the way that I read that on there was when your dreams get deferred, or when you when they get put aside, basically, um, does it not bother you? Like crust over and syrupy sweet, because sugar, not sugar, but syrup doesn't really go bad. Does it like not bother you? Does it not get old? And then maybe the last part on there, maybe it just sags like a heavy load. Does it like weigh you down, or does it explode? Does it come out in other more volatile ways, more violent ways, like anger or violence when you don't get to live life the way you want to? That's just some of the ways that I took that one.
I
Sorry,
really
go on.
like that. I really like that. And so it's about mm, what is happening to people uh, who's dream deferred.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. In that case, uh, that's just how I read that one on there. Oh, sorry, you were saying?
Oh no, sorry about the noise. It's yeah. I think it's all about. Uh, I think I mean, understood this point well. I guess. How do you feel when your dream deferred? If it happens to you?
Oh, like personally?
Yeah.
Um, I'm not necessarily choosing from this list on here. I'd say that it's a little bit of a combination of a few things. It depends on where my mind is at. But if I am thinking about something that I've wanted to do and I, never got to do it, or I will never have that opportunity, it it does a little bit of both the sags like a heavy load, and it also crust and sugar over syrupy sweet. Because I don't really know. Sometimes it doesn't really bother me when I don't get to live the life that I want or intend to live it, because I have enough purpose to kind of deal with that. Does that make sense? I just can live other ways that I'm still okay with, but not necessarily following my dream. I definitely am still able to survive. Yeah. How about you in your personal life?
If my dream is
You're fine.
it's my it's from my neighbors. Uh,
Okay.
so if my dream is about very personal, I mean, very the basic things about life, it might be really frustrating and very hard because if it's not that I mean primary thing in my life, uh, I mean it won't be that hard for me. In this poem, uh, their dream was to treat us same as white people, or have uh, right their right, So it was kind of basic um, things we can have in our lives. So uh, so it was hard for them to I mean, hard for them to postpone their, I mean, postpone their dream or wait the time to have that right or freedom.
Yeah. I think to kind of answer the question that it originally asked of what it's like to be black in this poem on there, I think
Mhm.
that what it's like to be black is that's why they're going through those different options of what you can feel when your dream gets deferred, because that's something that not necessarily that's something that happens to African Americans, to Black people, is that they kind of have to set aside the way that they want to live and accept the way that they are living sometimes. I know that's sometimes really hard to endure and that's hard to feel. I know you and I have talked about how, we could kind of survive if it's not necessarily the way that we want to be living, but that's still really hard for some people who are forced to set aside their dreams or defer their dreams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I think it's enough for the
Yeah,
question, I guess.
I,
Okay, we
I
can go
agree.
to yeah.
Yeah, in
Next.
that case, we'll go into the next question and also talk about the next poem as well.
Mhm.
So in that case, one of the things it says is, what is Black experience here? And let's go ahead and talk about the other poem as well. We can touch on all the poems, or
Yeah, yeah.
both the poems and the short story too. But I'll talk about this one first. Actually, let me go back to it so I don't lose it in my mind. What is the Black experience here? Oh, I like this one. So I'll talk about the next poem, the theme for English B. Um, I like this one, especially in like near the ending of it, where he, talks about being part of a professor and the professor being part of him because they're both learning from each other. And he said, like, let's see here. I just want to pull up just a tiny quote of the experience of being Black. I guess you learn from me, although you're older and white and somewhat more free. This is my page for English B. I like that this writer, well, Langston Hughes, more or less the speaker in this poem, talks about like understanding basically the difference between how others live. He recognized that he was the only colored man in his class, and that was something that was kind of big for him. How he felt like he didn't feel a part of the class, but he felt a part of the teacher because that teacher got to learn from him as well. And so the experience of being Black, I feel like it's in this poem, the way that the author and speaker mean it to sound is that being Black in the experience is always a learning experience, even though other people have more technical freedom.
Sorry, what freedom?
Yeah, so they have more technical freedom. So in the very last, well, not very last line, the second to last line, how they said and somewhat more free. So the
Mhm.
speaker was recognizing that, there's a difference between the rights and the equalities between Black and white people, especially in his class. And he mentioned that in his paper in the second to last line, saying that like you as an older white person are somewhat more free. They have a little bit more ability is the wrong word. I want to say hmm, rights. Rights is a good simmer down for it. Yeah, somewhat more rights. And this was written in 2002. Yeah.
2002.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Now it's talking about something older. Now it was published in 2002, but that's the person writing for the theme of for English B. They're talking about something a little bit older, not 2002. At least I presume. They're using words like colored and professor and things like that. Not that we don't, but um, they the speaker talks in an older way, and I think that this is taking the time of the poem backwards to where it wasn't common for people of color to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
So not a long time ago, but just a little bit time ago. That's what I get from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. What is Black experience here? Mm, I think as a only one Black college student in a class means I think he experienced more than any other. Uh, I mean, Black people, um, because just I mean, being together with the Black people is they don't not as racism or other things that much, but being only Black, I think he experienced racism more than any other people, I guess. And I remember that he thought in the poem he mentioned that he thought that he cannot write, write, because I'm a Black. He was just thinking about it. So I found out that the white people always tell him that he cannot write.
I can see that from there.
Mm-hmm. So he was just thinking that he cannot. But as a teacher, whether white or Black, the instructor was his teacher, so he need to teach him. So yeah, I maybe the only one who treated him as a person might be a teacher.
That's very possible. I agree. That Black experience could have come from a lot of negative feelings and experiences that the speaker experienced, being the only colored man in school. Like I said, I think that one answers that pretty well on there. We can keep going on to the next one, the short story on there, and we can kind of talk about these next two questions on there. I'll have you start that one. So I'll read the question on there though. It says, in what ways does society shape what it means to be Black? And in what ways do these writers respond to that and make a concept of identity for their speakers? But we'll kind of move on to that second part in a little bit. So in what ways does society shape what it means to be Black in the short story or in those other two poems?
I think in the last question we must talk about but, because in what ways that this writers respond to the but I forget about it, because the writer is the same person.
From almost all of them. The author is the same person for both the poems. It's Langston Hughes. But for Brownies, that one's by Z.Z. Packer. I didn't do any research on him.
Sorry, who?
Z.Z. Packer. It's a different person. It's in the textbook. The two poems, though, those are made by the same person, though. The same author or writer. Yeah.
So we also, I see. I don't know. Maybe Langston Hughes, I guess.
Langston Hughes?
Yeah, Langston Hughes.
Yeah. What were you saying about him, the author, the writer?
Oh, I haven't, no, nothing to say.
Oh, okay. In that case, then, what were your thoughts on the ways society shapes what it means to be Black in those poems written by the same person or that story?
Written in the same person.
What about the same person? I couldn't quite understand that.
Yeah. The poems written in the same person. Yeah, that one.
So what does society, in what ways does society shape what it means to be Black in those two then?
Yeah. And that, I mean, the Harlem and the English Bee.
Yeah, in those two, I see that. But in what ways does society shape?
Are you asking?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Sorry. So I was just thinking that mm, I don't know. I mentioned before that the classmates treat the black man that he cannot write, or uh, so the people who are around black people, uh, they make society, I mean, kind of terrible place for black people. I don't know. I mean, the black people together, have their own society, I guess. It looks like a kind of two different society, and the one society is treated by other society, something like that.
It
Mm,
kind of creates two parts of society, and one mistreats the other. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, it's almost like this because because the I don't know, in the past the white people treat them as animal, maybe worse than animal.
Mhm.
And so uh, then they make them they make they feel black people how terrible to be a black person.
Mm.
I think they sometimes I if I were one of them, I might hate myself. Why I born this way,
Mm.
Um,
Ah.
yeah, uh, because the society make black people worse than anything.
Mm.
You cannot do anything. You are black. You are a bad person. Something like that. You cannot do anything. You don't have any ability to learn or educate. Something like that.
Mm. I thought of something funny a second ago. But yes, I was gonna say I'm catching on to what you're saying on there. That and I'll just reiterate it a little bit. Um, that some of the ways that society shapes what it means to be black, and what you've seen from those poems and what I've also seen from that short story, is that society makes it seem bad to be black. It makes them, and you were saying yourself, like maybe in that time you might feel bad, or why am I born like this, those sorts of things, those sorts of issues. That's the way that society shapes what it means to be black and what it looks like and what it feels like to be black, is that it's this negative thing, that it's this negative feeling. I completely agree with that. I mean, maybe back in those times society in a whole made it seem terrible to be black. I think that it's somewhat the opposite now, at least what we see a lot in not high culture, that's the wrong word, in popular culture. It's good to be black. It's good to be darker and cultured. There's a lot of pluses and positives. You have a lot of abilities and additional uh, amenities is the wrong word. Better things that happen for you if you're black. And I think that there are unseen things, but I think that that's how society is starting to shape it now. But I think that you are absolutely correct for what it was back then, that society shaped it in such a negative and terrible way. Now let's move on to that next one as well, and I'll start with that next thought. In what ways do these writers respond to that and make a concept of identity for their speakers? So we're going to talk specifically just about the older sense where society shaped um, what it means to be black is really bad. Um, Except for throughout all of these, the two poems and the short story and everything, I'd say that, besides from maybe one experience here and there, these writers respond to the society shaping that by kind of leaning into it a little bit. I see that in Harlem, they talked about, forgive me, they talked about how let's see here. Those writers respond to that, make a concept of identity for their speakers. There was I didn't really catch an identity so much in Harlem just because it was just kind of more of a list style about, what it means to put your dream aside or defer your dream. I think that how it responds to what society is shaped, what it means to be Black, is that it leans into being Black, you have to put your dreams aside, at least in the first one. In the second one, the theme for English B, I think it leans into the fact of like you were saying, how the Black man was probably treated differently and worse, maybe by everyone except perhaps the professor, the English teacher. Um, I think that is more of an accurate reflection on what society was shaping to what it means to be Black. It was showing that it's not great, and it was leaning into that, for lack of a better term, definition. And then in Brownies, that short story from the textbook, um, from what I could tell on that one, I'd say that was long. Um, there were a little bit of pieces of both that I could see. What it means to be Black is they a few of the characters acted I wouldn't say harshly due to like the circumstances of what was going on with the troop 909, 606. There's one of those. The troop, the all white troop that they one of them or a couple of them called one of the Black girls the N-word, and how what it shows in society to be Black is that it shows that you're less than others, is what I got from that one. And how that writer showed it as, those little girls trying to get vengeance or getting vengeance on there, is that it was, I'm trying to design better how I should say this. How they put an identity there is that there was, what I liked about that one is that there was an identity of pride among the little girls, the brownie um, group, the little troop of all Black girls. I think that there was, the positive thing in that is that there was a identity of pride in who they were, but I still think from those outside sources, and even sometimes within those their own girls, because they made fun of each other a little bit, that it still was a lesser value to be Black, and that's how it was shown on there. Anyways, sorry, I was really ranting on there. I want to hear more about your thoughts on that second question. And you're on mute.
Sorry, the noise was so loud, so I was just waiting to. I don't know how to answer for the last question, but I will. Okay, sorry. I think it's done, I guess. I think the speakers, the authors, more others focused on how Black people treated and how their life was different from others, and also how their dream was shrinking. Uh, Identity for the speakers. Yeah, you told that the I mean the if I summarize the last the brownies by ZZ Packer, the black girls are with white girls, yeah. Yeah. So the speaker more expressed the identity by girls, I guess.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute for that. The speaker did what with in comparison to the white girls and the black girls?
Mm-hmm.
I want to understand. I didn't quite hear you.
I mean I can answer. Maybe I couldn't give. I mean I can't give. I mean the good answer for the last one. Sorry about that.
So in that case, you don't really have a good answer. You're saying for the last one on there. It's okay.
Yeah.
In that case, then we've kind of gone over all of that so far and everything. Now the last thing on there is have a member of the group write a 1 to 1.5 page response making a statement about what it means to be Black in one of these texts and supporting that statement with quotations and explanations from the text. All righty. So in that case, then that sounds good. I don't have an answer. Since we're not all together, I won't talk about when we're next going to meet. We've kind of answered all those questions on there. We've talked about, using quotations for the poems and explanations to support the answers. I feel like we've done that. Real quick, then up next, I am gonna I can take this recording and everything. I'm gonna end this recording right here. We don't have to talk about the assignment, the rest of it. One moment. Let's see here. If I could stop the recording, that'd be great.